Hey guys, welcome back to part 7 of my Unity Ragdoll series. In today's video, I will finally be covering grabbing. So by the end of today's video, your Ragdoll will be able to grab different rigid bodies. Let's get started. Okay, so before I begin the grabbing script, there are a few changes that I want to make in the project. So the first change is in our limbs. So pretty much all of the limbs except for actually pretty much all of the limbs, the mass is now 1, the drag is now 0.2, and the angular drag is now 0.05. And then in the torso the mass is 1.5, the stomach the mass is 3, and in the hips the mass is 5. And then in the lower arms and the hands, the mass is 0.1 and the drags are 0. So if you are following along with the same model and pretty much everything same, then you can change those values if you want to. And in general, you don't have to make these changes. It's mostly just preference on how you want the velocities and the forces to affect your limbs. So yeah, the next thing is that since I increased the mass in my hands, in the hands and the arms, the torso will start shaking now. So go to your lower arms, go to your configurable joint, and in the mass scale set it to 5 or set it to something more than 1. And I'm not sure exactly what this does, but I think it kind of affects how it kind of scales the mass of the connected bodies of the arms so that it won't get affected by the mass of this arm as much. That makes any sense. But the point is, the torso doesn't shake as much whenever you set it to a value more than 1. Okay, so now I also have new animations for this project. I have an animation where whenever you left click or right click, the right click will be for the right hand and the left click will be for the left hand. So whenever you're gonna pick up an object, you'll left click or right click depending on which hand you want to use to pick up the object, and the animation will be that basically the right hand goes just kind of angles upwards so that it looks like it's picking up an object actually. So so what I did here was that so in my project, in my animations, I have a right hand up and a left hand up animation. So if I go to my animator, applying these animations is actually kind of special this time because we are going to be using layers. And in your projects, you'll probably only have one layer so far called the base layer where all of the animations are right now. But the thing with these, only one animation can be playing at once. So walk and run can't be playing at the same time. And that's an issue whenever you're trying to pick up an object while walking. My right hand up animation doesn't have walking already in it. The only thing it has is the editing of the transform of the upper right arm. So the only thing it does is that it makes the right arm go up. So that means the rest of the body will be standing still whenever you play the animation. So what we can do is make 2 more layers called right hand and left hand, and set the weight to 1 for both of them, and make sure the blending is on override for all of the layers. Then in the right hand and left hand layers, you can make an idle state that has no motion. Make sure it has no motion, and from there it goes to your right hand up or left hand up animation. So what this does is that whenever there's a motion in this layer called right hand, it will override the motion in the base layer. So the right hand if there is right hand motion in this layer, the right hand walking, if you're walking in the base layer, will get overwritten. So now, if I click play, and if I go to my animation or my parameters and click this, as you can see, my hand goes up, but I can still walk. And my right hand isn't walking anymore. It's the right hand up animation has overwritten it. But whenever I remove it, as you can see, they can still walk. So yeah, that's how you can override the animations if you're gonna use animations for this project. I mean for this video, because some of y'all just wanna make the hand grab and no picking up animation. So yeah, if you do have an animation for it, that's how you can do it. Otherwise, let's move on. So now let's make the grabbing script. So I'm just gonna go to my scripts folder and create a new C# script called grab. Okay, so the first thing I want is a public animator. This is to animate our hands so that they can go up and down. I'm gonna have a public game object. I guess it doesn't have to be public. Okay, a grabbed object. So this game object is just gonna be the object that you have grabbed, so that we can apply a joint to it. Public rigid body. Public integer. So this one actually has to be public. So this will be an integer that will basically tell our script to decide which hand it's gonna animate. So if it's 0, it will be the left hand. If it's 1, it will be the right hand. We will be putting this on both of our hands, so we can just set different values for both of them. We'll have a public bool already grabbing goes false, and that will just help us transition between the grabbing. So okay, go to your start function, and then the usual thing is that rb equals get component to rigid body. Okay, and then in our update function, let's put an if statement, and if input.get mouse button down is left or right. So if it's left, then we will set it to 0 in our Unity editor, and then we'll have an if statement in here, is left or right equals to 0, animator dot set bool is left hand up to true. So that will play the animation, and I'll copy this, I'll do else if, and then I'll delete that part. There we go. And we can put that as 1, and then boom. Okay, so after that, wait, why is there an error here? Okay, after that, let's make a fixed joint called fj, and we'll add it to our grabbed object, and we'll set the grabbed object in a different function later, so don't worry about that. fj.connectedBody equals rb. So that will change the connected body of the fixed joint in our grabbed object to the rigid body on our hand, so that they attach, so that it will feel like you're grabbing an object. And then break force, you can set this to anything you want depending on if you spin your character enough, the force will be enough so that the object can break off. I'm just gonna set this to like a high amount so that it doesn't break. So else if input.get mouse button up is left or right, and then we can copy this, paste it here, and we need to disable the animation, so false. Then we are going to check if grabbed object doesn't equal null. Grabbed object never mind. Then destroy grabbed object dot get component fixed joint. So here so if the grabbed object isn't nothing, if it isn't nothing, then we will destroy the fixed joint so that the object will break off our hand and it will be like we're releasing. And grabbed object equals to null to reset it. Okay, now here is where we set our grabbed object, and how we do this is by having an on trigger enter event. So we'll set our collider on our hand to a trigger instead, so that there won't be any physical collision. There will only be a trigger. So in here, so if our hand triggers with an object, then we will check if the other game object has this tag called item on it. The reason why I have this is because I don't want the character to be able to grab anything. I only wanted to grab the objects that have this tag on them called item. You don't have to have this if you don't want it. For me, I do. So grabbed object equals to other.game object, and there we go. So now what if we don't want to pick up this object, but we just like went by it and now it changed our grabbed object to this? What we can do is have an on trigger exit instead. So if we don't left click or right click while triggering with other game object, then we will just set grabbed object to null. I think that should be good. Okay, so I hope this script made sense and I hope it works. So let's go back to my Unity editor, let it compile, go to your left and right hand, add the grab script. Okay, make sure on your collider it's on trigger, and you can also increase the radius of it if you want, so that you can grab objects a lot easier. So if it's left hand, so select your left hand, and on the animator we can just drag target animation model is left or right hand. It's left hand, so we'll set it to 0. 0 is fine. And then right hand, drag this and let's do 1. There we go. So hopefully this works. Let's find out. Okay, so both my hands are working, which is a good sign. See if I'm able to pick up this object. Oh wow, I am. So look at this. We are able to pick up this object and we can walk with it around, and if you kind of spin your body correctly and release correctly, you can also kind of throw it a little bit. So that's pretty cool. You can also use the right hand. If I do this, boom. Crazy, right? Oh my gosh, it went so far. No way. Okay, so it appears to be working, but I forgot to mention that on your cube, you need to have a rigid body because that's what the joint attaches to, and you may need to make sure that um if you did include if this object has item tag on it, then you need to make sure that your test object or whatever objects that you want to grab have the item tag on it. It won't work unless you don't have that part of the code. So yeah, that is pretty much how you make a ragdoll character able to grab stuff. Okay, so yep, that's how you do it. And thanks for watching this video, and bye.